All right, hey y'all. This video is going to end up being a dumpster fire of a video, and I don't blame you for turning around and going the other direction. This is all over the place, and I was actually just getting ready to delete the whole thing. It was recorded yesterday throughout the day from like early morning all the way up till like 11. It was just recorded in little bits throughout the day as I was thinking about things and talking about it. It's not It's not organized well. It's all over the place. It is a dumpster fire. I'm getting that term because I accepted a job that they did everything they could to dissuade me from accepting it. I mean, they told me how bad of a job this is, and they referred the both the person who interviewed me and the recruiter who first called me. That the recruiter called it a dumpster fire, and during the interview, the guy was like saying, yeah, we really have like no budget to work with. It's really dirt poor. We've got guys that are working for us that are not getting paid what they should be getting paid, and we're just trying to keep them. We're just trying to keep them from quitting. And this is going to be a lot of work. And just everything. It was just like everybody was just trying to talk me out of taking this job, and even the pay range. I don't even know why I applied for it. The pay range was just like way too low. I mean, you could see how cheap they are. They really are because the pay range is like you got to be kidding. Um, I ended up, getting more like 10,000 more added to their max range just because there was no way I could even. I just wasn't going to talk to them for less. But unfortunately for me, they went up that high. They met my minimum, so they made the offer. And I guess I'm recording more because I know I've got a little more free time at the moment, and I'm pretty soon I'm not going to have the free time. But this I started recording yesterday for a couple reasons. One was these jobs, and my wife like somehow knowing what's going to happen many weeks before it does, and she called out which job was gonna take me, which one I'd be close runner up for. I still want to prove her wrong and get something better, something that's I don't know more exciting instead of a dumb. I mean, when I went to this place, it looked like a third world country. You drive in the back and there's like these old dilapidated buildings. There's big chain link fences that are like leaning over that need to be pushed, just demolished. It was just junk everywhere. I mean, it was like being king of Sanford and Son. I mean, it was like this this might actually suit me, but still, uh, I can see a lot of people running from this job. But anyway, the VP position was the one I was so excited about, and she's like, "Yep, I just don't see it. You're not going to get it." Blah blah blah. Um, and I've got two more still in the works. There's two hot potatoes that might come through. One of them is an area manager over 7 properties, and then the one that I interviewed at today is more. I mean, it was very secretive too because the company they didn't tell me who they were. I didn't know who it was until I got there. Now, if I said the name, y'all would completely know. Dan says, "Oh, yep, it's another one of those Illuminati companies." And yeah, they probably are. But you go in. I had to go into this downtown skyscraper. It was on the 30th floor. I had to. There's the regular elevator bank for the regular people, and then there's the second elevator bank for those who got to pass through a second security checkpoint. I mean, like Men in Black type escort you in, and then you go up. So I interviewed today, and it was really exciting because it's a new development. I mean, nothing's been built yet. I would be over the whole thing. So it's $1 billion development. Going to be beautiful, brand new, exciting. Total opposite of the dumpster fire job that I accepted. I'm total opposite. This is going to be glitzy, big money, and it'd be nice. So those are the two hot potatoes that are still in. But if none of them come about, it'll be me in the dumpster fire job. And so yesterday I was starting talking. I'm going to warn you, I'm all over the place on this one. I had uploaded, or I talked in a recent video not long ago how all of these, alien encounters, the abductions, the Montauk Chronicles, and then even the ghost investigation stories, there's a common theme amongst them. They all seem to be dealing with entities from the other side. Even aliens are like interdimensional entities that use vibration to cross through and communicate. So to me, the aliens and the ghosts, they all seem like one and the same. And I was mentioning how none of these videos talk about using the name of Jesus. Like all the accounts, there's like tons of Christians out there, and if they were face to face with a gray, they'd be calling out for Jesus. And just to know what the reaction would be from that Jesus, and I mean from that meeting, I'd read something that it did kind of cause them to flee. It made them break away. But you're not going to see that on any of the mainstream networks, documentaries. It's hard to find anybody that's saying that. Isaac Weishaupt, I believe he puts it into his books, and he's a huge researcher. But that was just a point that I was trying to make. Here's the synchronicity. The very next show I watched was these ghost investigators, and of course they're all going with this idea that the ghosts are people who died and their souls are just lingering in the house for whatever reason, and they're just trying to communicate, that's all. And then there was the other idea that there were imprints from a timeline in the past or the future, that it's like an echo of vibration, and you're seeing through that different timeline. That's what's coming across. Well, I was surprised they aired it, but they had this one investigator that was more of the spiritual side, like the Christian side, and he said he was talking to these girls who were having a lot of ghost experiences, and they were frightened by it. So the setting is, and I'm going to put this recording. I was going to nest it in right in the beginning, but I'm going to put it at the end of this thing, so you can go all the way to the end and you can listen to two recordings. You'll have to turn up the volume because the audio is a little crappy, but one of them is this guy talking, and the other one is that Geordie guy with D-Wave, because what he's doing with D-Wave is just, I'm sorry, it's the same thing as just conjuring and speaking to the other side, and he's defending himself in the audio clip. He's defending that he's not trying to do a witchcraft. He's not trying to summon demons, and instead he says, "How do you know that they're bad?" He is trying to summon something. He just doesn't want to assume that they're evil. That's all it is. But he's just admitting, here it is, this guy, this D-Wave technology, and he's just admitted. So I put that at the end. I'll put this thing in this clip, and the setting of the clip is, in this one house, all these researchers of ghosts were like trying to study all the weird stuff constantly going on there. And there was a lot of humidity at that time of year, and there was a window on the second floor that has a room that has a lot of activity, but the window was stuck open. All these guys have tried to get it to close, but the humidity made it swell. They couldn't get it to go down. They tried tapping it down with a hammer. It wouldn't budge. It was stuck tight. I know what that's like. I had run a property in my youth that had all these wooden windows, and when those things swelled, it was, forget about it. It was stuck. That's just where it is. It's not going anywhere. So this guy was talking to these young girls about their encounters with the ghost, and he said, "Have you ever tried using the name of Jesus?" And when he said Jesus, the window that was right next to him, it was stuck open. It just slammed, just went down super fast, slam. So, all the other investigators that were trying to make a point that these were just, people who had lived and had died or from other timelines, well, they sure did get triggered by the name of Jesus. I thought I'd just upload that because the coincidence of me having just talked about it, and then the next show I watched was talking about that. So I said, oh, too bad I've already uploaded. I'll have to put it into the next one sometime. So anyway, I've been forgetting to tell you about it. I thought I'd throw it up there. Again, this is a dumpster fire video, so randomly thinking about things just like that and putting it in. But where I really started going with this yesterday was my contemplation about this reality as far as the whole, like, foreknowledge. If my wife can know stuff in advance, which she just does all the time, and it's beyond a shadow of doubt for me. If she knows what's going to happen in the future, is there any choice that I have along the way? Is all of this? I mean, she says it's already happened. Is there any point in me going on these other interviews, even though that, I mean, it's they look real exciting, like exciting jobs, but the one that I don't want is the one I'm getting. And that's the way she foresaw it many, many weeks ago. She was telling me this is how it's going to play out. And I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to bring it up in any of my videos because honestly, I guess it's a little superstitious. I didn't want to speak that into existence. I didn't want to give it any thought. I was just trying to like, nope, I'm gonna foresee, I'm gonna visualize, I'm gonna see myself getting that VP job. I mean, I was like, no, I do. I mean, I'm sorry if that offends. I did not want to acknowledge her her negative or stupid predictions, which is always right. I didn't want to give that any credit, so I didn't. I just didn't give it any. But it played out that way anyway. So it makes you wonder, how much should I even try if the world's already laid out and this is the way it's going to be? And I've always been like back when I was teaching at college, or not college, trade school, and I was trying to teach people that were, I mean, a lot of my students had a rough life. That's the best way to put it. Had rough past, had rough home lives. And this trade school is like their last ditch effort at doing something with their life. They're like, if this doesn't cut it, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I would teach them to take, total responsibility for the person they are, the life they live, to take ownership, to say things like, if it's going to be, it's up to me. Carve out your reality, take ownership, be responsible, don't blame, don't pout, don't be negative. This is all your, just own it. Just own the thing. Even if it's not 100% your fault or anything, or even if there are circumstances that you can point to, just own it anyway. Own it all. Who cares? I push that with these guys a lot because it just seemed like a better way to go about it rather than being an Eeyore. And I really did push that. I pushed, I'm going to make something of myself, and the world can try and fight me on it, but I'm gonna fight back harder. I'm gonna make this thing. I mean, it's like the Rocky movies, right? You're gonna stand up and you're gonna keep getting back up every time you get knocked down. That was there's something about that message, I think, that rings true in all of us. I mean, there's something about that just feels right. It's like, I don't care what the world wants to dish out. I'm gonna just keep my chin up and face it. But maybe that's what this reality loosh sucking machine wants us to do. Maybe that's a deception message in the Matrix. Maybe it's like that old black lady that was talking to Neo. She's a deception program to just keep you, focused on that kind of mindset so that you keep enduring the suffering and keep giving it back that loosh. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I get frustrated when I think about how some of this stuff seems to be like laid out, and you just don't seem to really have any control over where it's just like you're getting pushed. You're getting pushed down this river and the current's taking you and you don't really have a paddle. It feels like that. And there's another thing about the message in Christianity is, don't try to control it. Give it all over. Just let God, let God take care of it. Jesus, take the wheel. Let go and let God. These are the statements that we say in Christianity. Don't, all your burdens, just let it go. Don't worry about it. If God wants you in this place, let God open those doors and stop trying to create your world. So I see with both sides, I see truth, and they're completely contradicting each other. This taking ownership, taking responsibility, carving out my path, making things happen does kind of rub against the, let God do things and trust God and have faith and all that stuff. And I don't know how Christians, there's a lot of them I know that have both sets of beliefs, at the same time, and I don't know how they reconcile those beliefs that are contradicting each other in their little soul balance sheet, their little spiritual idea of beliefs and biases. How do they live with both of those influences in the back of their mind, saying, yeah, I need to take responsibility and ownership, but at the same time I don't? I don't know. And then there's the whole other thing that is, if this reality is laid out and the choices have already been made and there's really nothing I can do, how does anybody have any personal accountability for anything? Is it really your fault? You didn't really have a choice to begin with. You're just the schmuck that's going along with the whole thing, doing what you have to do. You don't have any choice. It's kind of hard to hold anybody responsible with that. I don't know, and probably not going to give any answers here. This is a debate that goes back for eons. I remember this debate was back when I was in college, and they're just, it's never ending. But I can state for a fact, if it matters to anybody, that I've seen, my wife has that ability. In a historical timeline, she would have been burned or hung or drowned, because she definitely has all those attributes that those little villages would have gone after her with a pitchfork. And she's just, and I think I get into details with some of my other recordings that I'll throw on the back of this thing, and it's just going to be a heaping pile of me rambling on and on. But anyway, if you've got nothing better to listen to and you just want something in the background, you want to ponder this idea with me and then weigh in on your thoughts, go ahead. I honestly, this whole video file was all heading towards the trash, and I just decided, why not? So here you go. I'm gonna go ahead and let this intro segment end here, and then the rest of them I'll just piggyback and let it play out. At the end, you can hear the ghost guy and the Jesus comment, and you can listen to that Gordy and the D wave and how he's conjuring up whatever entity he thinks he's talking to. But all right, have a great day, and I'll keep you posted if if the Illuminati job calls me. Otherwise, it's going to be King of Sanford and Son. We'll see. Bye. Or not bye, but you'll let the videos continue. Audio, not video. Let me ramble forever here. We'll see. So I just had to share that. I thought it was interesting that person was acknowledging a frustrated entity on the other side when Jesus was spoken of. But and I'm sorry if you're hearing noise in the background. I'm actually in the kitchen making some eggs while I'm talking to you with the headphones on. But this whole talking to the other side thing has been a question, because, in Christianity, of course, mediums and psychics and all that spiritualism is considered of the devil, but yet there's the Christian version of that. There's the prophets who seem to do the exact same things as a lot of these spiritualists. And I don't know. Another thing, too, is I have not actively sought, well, once I did. Okay, once. But I haven't really actively sought to connect to that other side and speak, not even in the name of research or science or anything like that. It just happens. That voice breaks into your thoughts like it's not your thoughts, because it just comes from nowhere. You weren't even thinking about anything like that. And it's addressing, this is how it works for me. It's addressing me. It's making a statement to me, and it's just out of nowhere. And it has a different feel about it. So those are the times that has occurred. And then that voice has proven itself to be something because it predicted something that was about to happen, or was given a comforting message, or saved my life. It was something of that nature. So here I marry a person who's got these abilities too. Her abilities seem to really go off the charts after her near-death experience. That it's like she came back with a boost, and she could just easily tap into that other side without even trying. And she doesn't try because, we had acknowledged we really don't know enough to know what's going on there. But sometimes these messages, they penetrate, they come through whether you're looking or not. It's just, they're so powerful, you just, it's there. So I've been frustrated with that because my wife, if she lived in another time, in another era, she would have been burned, hung, drowned, something for being a witch because of this thing that she can do over and over and over. And some examples are, she's like rock solid 100%. It'll come to her in a dream or just a vision. She'll see a future child that's about to be born, that's going to be born someday. Not about to be, but someday a couple is going to have a child, or a person's going to have a child, and she knows the sex of that child. She can see the child, like it'll be a baby, a child, or a teenager, but she can see that child, that baby that's going to be born sometime. 100%. She knows. She's done this. She must have done this 100 times in her marriage, where she'll just tell people this stuff, or tell me, sometimes you don't even tell them, but she knows it's going to happen. And it does. It just, eventually, it plays out. Not too long ago, there's a coworker that she worked with, and she told that coworker she was going to have twins, girls, and they were going to be blonde-haired girl twins. And lo and behold, that worker eventually ended up getting pregnant. And that friend, coworker, ended up having a single child, a baby boy, not fitting the description of what my wife saw. So we're kind of like, ha, you're wrong. You're not perfect. In your face type of thing. A few years go by. She sees on Facebook not too long ago that this person who she made that prediction on has on her Facebook page. She had made a post and she saw it. She got two twin daughter girls, blonde, exactly as my wife had predicted. Just nailed it to perfect. And it just makes you wonder about, how is that happening? She's not even seeking it. It just out of the blue, it just comes. It's not like she's actively pursuing life in her profession. She's not actively pursuing a medium career in any way. Now, it gets irritating to me because sometimes she predicts things that have to do with me. And in general, she's not good at seeing stuff that she's too close connected to. But with this stupid job search, I was really wanting, I've interviewed with so many people in the last month or two. It's just been banging out the interviews, resumes flying everywhere. So about, 2 or 3 weeks ago, she said, the job that you're really wanting is a vice president position. You're not going to get that. You're going to be the runner-up to it. But this other job that you just interviewed for today, you're getting that one. This is my first physical interview with them. She said, you're going to get that, and it's not going to be as much pay, and it's going to be hard work, but you're going to like the people, you're going to like your boss, you're going to feel like you got a group that you fit with. But I was like, no, that job's a lifeboat job. I want this VP job. It's exciting. I could see growing that company in so many different ways. Lots of fresh ideas. I have so much fun about that. She said, yeah, you're just not going to get it. You're going to be the second choice. So as I was sitting in my chair thinking about that. I'm trying to think about, I don't want her to be right. Again, I'm sick of her being right. And she would say, there's nothing I could do to change this course. It's happened already. It's like there's no timeline. It's already done. Like, are we just reliving stuff we've already done, and we've had an amnesia block, and we're just reliving the stuff that's inevitable? It's so bizarre. It makes me want to just not take the job just to spite her. But I can't do that. I can't do that to my family, people needing and relying. I can't. I can't do that. But oh, never been so tempting. But it makes me wonder about how much free will and how much our path is chosen or not. And of course, with the Mandela effect, we've been pondering the whole thing about bouncing into different realities and timelines. And I was hoping that I could prove her wrong here and bounce into this timeline where I am the VP. I get the job that I'm really excited about. Now, I'll tell you, right before the whole Mandela effect happened to me, before my September 23 experience in 2016, about 2 weeks before that occurred, she said that she's got this strong premonition that something huge is about to happen to us. It's huge. It's going to be like monumental, life-changing. But she couldn't tell me what it was exactly. I said, is it good or bad? She was like, no, I just see it as neutral. Like, neutral. What is it? And then boom, September 23rd hits. But that's kind of the type of thing that I've been living with, the type of accuracy that she has, and it just does make you wonder how fixed are the things that are about to happen to us. How much wiggle room is there? How much variation is there to this life? So anyway, I coincidentally again I published a video this morning. I didn't rewatch it. I just remember doing a Christmas one so many years ago, and I just uploaded it again. What the heck? And T-Bird says, yes, I agree 100% that we do change our reality bubble when we work on changing ourselves inside. I'm Mandela all day, but since I took the reins of the wild horse myself, everything reflects it. There's definitely something to that theory. I'm somehow controlling my own bubble now. Wow, very well said. Thanks. So it's interesting. I didn't remember that I said that because I just re-uploaded the video without watching it to see what I completely said. And it's on the same train of thought that I'm talking about right now. How do we change our reality bubble? And I guess the idea I was going with there was that you work on becoming a different person inside. And I remember thinking this too, that if you go down a dark path, reality around you tends to get dark. Like the whole world just goes evil as you go evil. And if you go towards the light path and the righteous and the good, the world starts shaping up to match that. That was kind of the way I was going with that. So I think that's just a nice little coincidence. Another person said Vicks Vapor Rub went to Vicks, V-I-C-S. It just lost the K. And now it's back to Vicks with the K. Seriously, I was shocked that it was V-I-C. It is a shock. And then somebody underneath that said, I so feel being trolled. I was flipping out, bugging everyone in my family, extended family, and friends with the Vicks going to the VICS. No K. Literally made an idiot out of myself. And now it's back to VICS. Yeah, man, that's a reality I remember extremely well because, first of all, I'm looking at Vicks with that VICS. That was the label. I mean, it was that way in the stores. And I didn't hear anybody talking about it necessarily, or maybe there was somebody that brought it up. I don't remember now, but I remember looking at Vicks, VICS, and thinking, but that looks right. I mean, it just looked right and normal. And I was having a hard time in that world, in that reality. I was having a hard time really with the VICKS, like picturing it, like seeing it in my mind that it used to be that way. I was in a world where VICS for Vicks was the norm. And it felt normal. I was there and it was comfortable like a glove. VICS seems right. And then you bounce back into this world where it's got a K and VICS just seems stupid now. It doesn't feel right at all. It's very strange how that works. Another said, how have you forgotten to include Dean Martin's Rudolph the Red? Okay, I'm just now reading. I can't read that, but haha. There's there's a lot of there's a lot of things that I haven't included for Christmas Mandela effects. There's just a ton. The list goes on and on and on. And there's so many that I realized after I did that one that I completely forgot to put in there. But there's a ton because we grew up with these. We have anchor memories connected to them. That's just what happens. I suppose I talked about cornflakes having a K in this video. A lot of people, remember it as just corn, C-O-R-N flakes, and then they bring up the band Korn. What I can say with that one is, so I'm 100%, no question here. I was in that world. I mean, I saw the boxes in the store. I saw Jacob Israel talking about it, but that video has changed now. But I saw it. I mean, it was Korn with a K. It made sense to be Korn because they're, from a marketing standpoint, you're going to play on the Kellogg's being the company. So you want to differentiate your brand from everybody else out there that does their own little version of cornflakes. So your cornflakes, it would make sense to have Kellogg's and then with a K, corn, Korn, flakes. And it fit. The boxes all said that. I looked at the physical box, not just online, the physical box in the stores. They all were that way. They were always that way in that world. Now, it's interesting that there's this group, this band called Korn, K-O-R-N, because it just seems like realities have to bleed through in some way to another one. What's interesting is not only is there a rock group called Korn, K-O-R-N, they actually were on the cover of a specialty cornflakes box where it did spell it Korn, K-O-R-N flakes. I mean, it's just interesting how the realities can touch in that way. Now, I am not mistaking that box and that specialty brand and corn. That is not, I've been accused of, oh, you're just thinking of that. No, that's not the case. I know exactly what Kellogg's Corn Flakes had looked like in that world. I even remember in that world, I had come across this even earlier. Somebody had circled the K's, the 3 K's that are in the Kellogg's, the corn, and the flakes. They circled them with a big red marker and said this was proof that Kellogg's was racist. And, I immediately thought, well, that's stretching it. It's a marketing thing. But it never happened in this world. So all those thoughts and memories are just, they don't apply here. Oh, and here's an interesting comment. Joy to the world was heaven and angels sing, not heaven and nature sing. That's a good one. That would fit with this world where nature is being, Mother Nature is being worshipped over everything. As I look over some of these recent videos I've done, there are some stellar comments that have been made. So the comments I just read are off the Mandela Effect Christmas repost, but if I have time, I'd like to read some more. Well, I don't know if I have time, though. Anyway, while I'm sitting here at my computer looking at the videos and comments, I should clarify that the Hi Ho video is talking about the main song in Snow White. They still have the hi ho, it's off to work we go, but they're not showing them walking. It's like in the background, which is not what it was. I mean, that was the main song. That was what I remember seeing them, trotting along in a row and singing. But now it's home from work we go, and I had this home from work we come residue, and I was hoping to show that with all the comments. If you Google the Snow White is home from work we come, you see all kinds of people quoting that, and that's what I remember it being in a prior shift, but not a big deal. Just wanted to clarify that. And on the Frosty and the scarves, I should have uploaded better pics. That was an error with my creation of that. I used too low of resolution. That was a mistake. But there are tons. All you got to do is just type in to your Google Frosty the Snowman cover albums, and you'll see so many of these, most of them with the scarf, and some of them are right off the show, and it's got Disneyland stamps and original show pics, and yet I know when I looked at this last year, I watched the show and he didn't have a scarf once in it. So, some more comments. One says, I've been saying this all week to those close to me about living in a dream of sorts. Lately, if I say something a few minutes later, it materializes. For example, someone watching a show, I ask, how is that the actor from XYZ show? I get the response, no, it's not. A few minutes later, my friend is calling me to come look because a few minutes later, the actor I asked about is now on TV. So yeah, it's kind of weird how that kind of stuff, the coincidences are remarkable. Here's a comment. The only sane and this reality-based approach towards the Mandela effect is actually practical. Simple laws of physics still apply, as do basic human requirements for life in modern society. While some Mandela effects may be more profound than others, they are not life-altering and can be realistically processed accordingly. Except, the individual. It is life-altering, or what are altering, not alternating. It's life-altering to some, just because the way it impacts us, especially if you've got a strong belief system that runs a certain way, and this is disrupting your beliefs. Here, someone says, I was out shopping the other day, and the shop I was in was playing Let It Snow by Dean Martin. And I heard him sing the line, I've got lots of corn. I've got lots of corn for popping. I checked online every version I could find. Not one of them says lots of corn. They all say some corn, except for Dean Martin's where he says brought me some corn. So, even better, my wife heard it too. And she's okay. So, there's that. Another person says, Frosty had a scarf. Of course he had a scarf. Noble says, dream memories come to you in dreams too, like a backstory to the dream. I've made note of it many times now. That's true. I've had some dreams where they were like sequels to a former dream. It's strange. And Suso says, so things are still changing. I'm not comfortable saying shift anymore. The simulation theory seems closer to the truth, yet it could both be. I don't know, really. Just happy knowing this stuff. Yeah, just happy knowing. Oh boy, the next three have some great comments, but a little more than I can get into at the moment. The paid debunkers against Mandela Effect and Burden Proof, and Mandela Effect Reality Viewed as a School have got really a lot of comments. So let me go down to the End Times Mandela Effect, Life Is or Was, and see what's said. Lots of good comments about people's take on it, experience of flip-flops, question about if Dan is okay, and I said, yes, Dan is fine. He's just working a lot. Trust me, he's fine. I wish I could be Dan right now. Ernie says, who puts a sofa under a TV? Okay, let me explain the way the house is laid out. I've got two sofas identical to each other. They're exactly the same. One sits on one side, the other sits on the other. You can pass right through. You can walk through from the front door. Had to put the TV somewhere, so there you have. Actually, you can lay on that sofa right there and just look up because it's tilted. You can see just fine. So it still works. Kind of off topic here. There's a few comments about Jesus on the wall there, because I guess I was filming the TV. Somebody asked, Guy, wondering if you ever watched the channel called Mandela Effect Equals Everything. Oh gosh, no. Look, I'm not I get Dale and his huge concern that everybody realize that we live in a different part of the galaxy or whatever. I don't need, oh my gosh, he gets a real, a real loyal following there. But no, I'm not I'm not going there. First of all, I get I get the intensity in which you're saying that we come from Sagittarius and this now we've hopped over to Orion. I get that. I have the memory of being on the outer edge. Other than that, tell me more about where you're getting all the info. Are you channeling it? What? How do you know? How do you know? Or is it just, hey, I got this idea and I'm going to preach it like it's 100% true? I don't know. There's so many things I just hate, and this is what about Christianity that bothered me is we take statements of faith and then we just run with it and cram it down other people's throats like we absolutely know. And Dale feels like he's cramming it down our throat. I don't want to sit there and tell you I absolutely know something if I'm not 100% sure. And if I am sure, I'll tell you. And if I have no proof to go with it, just my memory or my personal testimony, I'm very clear about that too. Please just realize it's just me saying it. You'll have to take what you can from it. I can't reproduce this in a lab. But I'm real big on not shoving a belief down other people's throat like it's just 100% fact. If it's something I'm not sure about, I'm going to tell you. And if I am sure about it, I'm going to lay out why, well, here's my evidence. And then, that's like one video. We move on to what's the next interesting topic. And in the Mandela Effect viewed as a video game, someone says, while I was listening to this, I realized how special we are. We can actually see what has happened. I definitely think others, lots of others, have had the same experience as we have, but they don't realize it. Even when it's right there in their faces, they accept the narrative that they're just misremembering. Why is that, though? I mean, I was there, too, for, I don't know, a few years. I was seeing these things, and I just kept labeling it as I must have been wrong. But I, too, have had words change on documents, newspapers, books right in my hands while I was holding them. Once while at a restaurant, the menu shuffled while I was going over it. Yeah, that can mess with you. I hear roaring sounds in my ears. I'm a far out there person. I'm always talking about these types of ideas. So when I bring it up in conversation, it's something people already expect from me, and it's not comfortable for them to talk about this with others, for you to talk about it. But so when others have strange experiences, I'm always the person that they go to when they're going to tell their story. Another one says, I'm in shock about the icons, meaning these leaders in the truth community movements. Just shocked about them not seeing the Mandela effect. I mean, this is kind of crazy when you think about it. Those who are awake, he will speak to directly. Not everyone is a self-proclaimed guru leading the truth. It's kind of interesting how the people you would think would be acknowledging this, at least addressing it, are just shying away. One person said, what parent or loving being, aka God, would put their children here to suffer here? That is an interesting question, because this place does seem like it's full of a lot of dark, yucky junk that nobody wants to be a part of, and it's really hard to keep a positive attitude. I try. I definitely do. I don't want to get sucked into total despair, but it does feel like it's pretty bad here, and you wonder why we get stuck in this, and it feels like you're stuck. It's interesting, too. I was reminded just today about that little experiment they did with rats and the rat utopia. And if you're not familiar, basically scientists created a utopian world for rats. And rats will explode in population size because give them a little food, they just go crazy. So they made rat utopia only to find, plenty of space, no limit on space. They could grow and expand as much as they want, but they did not. They actually died out. When all of their needs were easily provided, they just withered away as a group. They did not. Even rats need a challenge, basically. If things aren't a little difficult, if you don't have something to overcome, what's the point? Even the rats went back to the spirit world. I don't know. I just found that to be a fascinating rat utopia. Just got to look that one up. It's fascinating. Here's one that says, what do you think about them saying that the Bible didn't change. We're the ones who changed. We're just on a different earth. Do you think AI is not evil here? Not evil, just here to show us the concept you just gave that we are part of AI, made of AI. What? Okay, I'm a little confused on what. I said I don't have a firm position because I'm just not certain enough. Again, I'm not going to preach something that I'm not 100%. I get the multi-worlds theory, and the many times my experience matches that perfectly. That's me replying. When things change as you're looking at them, it has the feel of it happening in the same reality. However, it could be just a perception. I would lean towards multi-world reality. I mean, it does fit in a lot of ways, but I don't know, that debate just is going to be out there until we get it resolved. I got a little clip about that Geordie guy and the AI and him talking to the AI, and yeah, it sounds like witchcraft and demons. So I'll stick that on the end here if I remember, but you should hear that. All right, so let me continue here. I just so you know, I've like been hitting record and then stopping and coming back, so this is like an all day long. If I shuffle these little mini segments up and they get all screwed up and it sounds really weird, I apologize in advance. But back to the comments. This paid debunkers video got a lot of comments. Let's see what we got here. So this one says, in 2016, I heard a weird drum in the middle of the night, and I just knew my life would be either before or after 2016. I didn't know that it'd mean the Mandela effect had woken up. I noticed things in my life changed. Also had a vivid dream around there. I was in my kitchen and a guy walked in. We both just started shutting down. And I said, oh no. So this is how they're going to do it. And we slowly fell to the floor like we were being gassed or rebooted. Also had several near-death experiences since then. Otherwise unhealthy. Seems like ME people have the near-death experience in unusual situations, so they had time for the rabbit holes and our families didn't. Well, that's true. There's a lot of us that just all of a sudden find time to look into stuff. And it could be just being in between jobs or whatnot, but you all of a sudden find time to do it. Could the near-death experience actually be a resurrection process? And the ringing of the ears is brought up a lot, which I have majorly. A lot of people talk about how their lives just like completely fell apart, like all the regular things that they were doing, they just couldn't do it anymore. This person says, I moved home, the world went nuts. Now my family thinks I'm a loser because I'm not out there making that money. They didn't understand any of it. The world has changed. There's so many interesting things to talk about instead of the mundane BS. I think it's going to get worse, so sobering up and getting healthy as I can. Somebody refers to it as mundane robotoid conversations to the point where I want to avoid people. That's a funny way of putting it. Another statement, it is a very valuable point, drawing parallels between abduction phenomenon and fluid reality. The former can perhaps be likened to a tuning that occurs at the level of individual perception, and the later is synchronized change. A fruitful avenue for inquiry. And I said the documents actually make reference to something like that. Talk about tuning into the right frequency and intentionally move through space and time, etc. A tech that aliens have and have fed some tech to our governments in exchange for their agenda. Oh, this one's interesting and worth some discussion because I'm hearing this a few times now. My son, so Rob's talking about his son. His son remembers his past life where he worked as one of those secret government operatives. When he was 6 years old, he was able to tell me all about the wormholes and sun portals. He told me that you can use wormholes to travel back in time and sun portals to travel forwards, but sun portals can only be opened exactly every 8 minutes. I looked up what sun portals are, and he was right. They do exist, and they do only occur every 8 minutes. He also told me that when you time travel, you will usually end up in a different timeline. This is just so crazy because all this stuff just starts repeating. I've speculated that whole time travel in different timelines. He remembers being stuck and not being able to return to his original timeline and living out the rest of his life there before dying an old man, going to heaven, and then being reincarnated into this life where he has purposely been allowed to retain his memories so that he can help us. Another person says, I know you're telling the truth because I know myself that I've come to this timeline through the sun. I've only found one other person who has gone into the sun portal, but he knows nothing about the Mandela effect. He's a Christian and a pastor. And you're right about the timing of when the sun portals open. In fact, it's public info on NASA. A few years ago, they discovered the X spots and have been trying to figure out their stability and how to use them. Your story, a confirmation, is incredible. Thank you for sharing this. Wow. Well, we really could and probably should do a video just exploring the 8-minute opening of the sun portals that move you to, I guess, the future and how they pop into different timelines. That would definitely be a fascinating investigation. And if any of you out there decide to do that or know of anybody else who is, please share that info. Another comment is there's a lot of people who came here in a few major waves, maybe other waves in smaller groups of individuals. I think I came in the earlier groups, 2015 to 2016. I remember being in a huge room where there may have been like 1,000 people. There was a stage and a man before all the people and some kind of weird turban on his head. Different languages. Oh, wow, this is getting pretty deep. So, yeah, the whole story of it. Wow. I remember that even a slightly off-colored sexual joke that someone had shared offended my spirit very badly. A lot of things happened, including supernatural things, and then I found out about the Mandela effect a few months later. I've spent a lot of time watching Vanessa VA's videos, and they were a good source of comfort over the years. You're right about organized religion. They are all traditions of man. Of all the knowledge I've been given and experience, I was most surprised to learn Jesus is the King of Kings until he hands the kingdom back over to his Father. The enemy is able to send people here the same way God does. It's a catch-22 for people who find the truth. People are being deceived by a variety of tactics. Whether you believe in channeled spirits from Pleiadians or Galactic Federation, quotes or parentheses, demons, or the Ascension theory, you can be your own God, manifest your reality, simply use your intent or vibrations. There's so much deception here, it's unreal. And the people here are not in a good position to be able to see through it. In fact, without the Holy Spirit, they won't. They won't be able to discern it correctly. Anyway, there's so much more. God bless. Yeah, I guess that goes back to what I'm saying here about, can I will this? Can I use my vibrations to manifest my VP position? Apparently not, because it didn't happen. So sad, really sad. Another comment says, I don't know that I'm totally Mandela affected. Oh, so you're not a diehard? I've always been interested in the Mandela effect channels, but you've got to admit that they were really hot the first year or two, and then they really started falling off from there. Well, I still have a major interest in the Mandela effect, and I know it's real. It just doesn't hold the same intensity as it used to. Yeah, that's a common feeling. This one says, I've had run-ins with people, in quotes people, in comments who seem like they were paid ME debunkers. Just something about the way they presented their so-called evidence felt like it had no real skin in the game. They never seemed to say anything anecdotal, and many times they admitted to not even being around or old enough to remember how certain things were, simply popping up in comments just to contradict anything. Yeah, don't you just love those kind of people? Another person says, I could be wrong, but I'm thinking things may have calmed down a bit in comment sections. At the beginning and up until about 4 years ago, comment sections used to be full of heated discussions, naysayers being rude, obnoxious, full of all kinds of pushback. Strange kind of encounters that I described in my initial post are from years back. And there's some conversations about being targeted individuals, people feeling that they're definitely targeted. On their online platforms, they're removed. And I mean, yeah, I've seen that so many times. People's comments get removed without me doing it. They just get removed. It's why? And it's like, what did they say that I don't even understand? I'll get a glimpse of what they said from my phone app, but then it's gone in the regular computer when you dig into the it's just strange how that's going on. Moving to the burden of proof video. Here's a comment that says, when I bought my house, it was condemned. It busted out the walls, hung the drywall. A few years later, there was moisture in the walls, and the paint kept bubbling up. It would go away and come back over and over. It was driving me crazy. I'm thinking I left something back there, and it must be rotting or something. My neighbor said he could drill tiny holes in the wall to look. We found a second set of stairs behind this drywall that we had hung. Ended up busting through the whole wall. We could see the second set of steps. It absolutely did not exist. It could not have existed. It was hilarious. We have pictures of the original work we were doing because I have one of those types of sisters who walks around with a candid camera on everybody. You can see a window there, looks outside, but there isn't even a window there. So this is interesting. This is one of the top comments off of Mandela Effect Burden of Proof, and she's saying how the remodel renovation of the house she did changed from its initial setup. That's pretty wild. Another one says, my entire wall fountain moved 1 meter to the left, and my dolphin's wall ornaments moved 1 meter to the right. And now when I sit on the terrace, I see a blank brick wall. I've designed my house. I placed the fountain and the dolphins to enjoy sitting there. Lived there for 15 years. I'm not delusional. Yeah, it's funny how things move around like that. Another person talking about a doggy door that installed themselves, and let's see, the two flaps that looked like, okay, so this doggy door had flaps that looked like a window, and then that decor just disappeared like it was never there. It's like the doggy door changed its style. Such a little change, but if you are aware that it changed, it just blows your mind. Lots of good wishes that a job would come through. I appreciate that. I guess a job did come through, just not the VP job. Here's one that says, I had an experience a few days ago when I was using my sewing machine, and something out of the corner of my eye made me flinch and jump. When I looked sharply to my right, there were streaks of blood on the top of my sewing machine, that definitely weren't there the last 10 minutes. And I sat at the sewing machine. That's not something you can miss. And it really freaked me out that they just appeared and made me jump, because I have no clue to where they came from. I'm at the point now that I don't usually mention personal or collective Mandela effects to people close to me, as I don't honestly believe most can handle the reality. And instead, they either ignore it or try to rationalize their experiencing them, or unintentionally disparage my experiences, which I'm sure y'all can understand. It's very hurtful. It's hard to provide proof when a Mandela effect occurs, as there isn't usually much, if any, residual evidence. So the only proof is people's testimonies. Even though even those of us who acknowledge Mandela effects don't always share the same experience. So I always try to remember to be polite, respectful when other people have different memories from my own. So true. Life Matrix says, love your authenticity, brother. Your vids are great. Easy to listen to and to relate to. Thank you, Lifey. Here's a comment about a person who disassembled their rear passenger seat and they forgot to put a bolt back. So they they held on to it because they meant to go back and do it. I've done that exact same thing. I actually removed a seat and I was like, oh, I've missed a bolt. I got to. Long story. Anyway, days later, I went back to put the seat back, and my dad was available to help me. I remembered about the missing bolts, so I went back and checked the mug. It had disappeared from there. I emptied it, nothing, gave up the search, went back to the garage, finished putting the seat back together, and my dad, knowing well of the missing bolt, with my dad. Okay, his dad knew the missing bolt. A couple days passed, and I found the bolt in the mug exactly as I remembered putting it inside. So the bolt just disappeared. Yep. How many times does that happen? Anyway, I noticed when going through these comments, there were some really great personal stories of changes people have experienced and different accounts that they have. So it's pretty fascinating just on this channel. And then think of all the other channels out there. Somebody could really do an interesting video just putting together all of these personal examples that so many people have. There's got to be thousands out there. I mean, it would make a great little documentary, just sharing experiences. I've just got a few minutes before I need to stop this, and then maybe I'll have time to do another little segment and put this all together. But David Icke's new book, in my opinion, is a system matrix generated one in which comes with a lot of traps, 90% truth mixed with 10% lies that you get in the end, and useless information. If you'd like to read the best book about Soul Trap, I'd highly recommend the Howdy Mikowski's new 4th book, Exit the Cave. I helped him with feedback on it as well and confirm it's a great book. He's currently doing a lot of interviews for his book. Love to see you guys talk. Be amazing conversation. Howdy. Yeah, I think I was following up on that, but I kind of forgot about it. But that would be pretty cool to see. I'm going to have to check out that book. This is under the School of Life video. Mandela Effect is a school. Howdy Mikowski. It's one of the top comments. So y'all want to check out that book. There's also a free ebook, Waking Up from the Matrix, from Vegan Skeptic. Might need to check out some of that. Always good to get some, especially that's free. That's in my budget. Deborah says, stay in that love vibration, not the fear and loss one. Yeah, and I will admit there's a great deal of relief that came from getting the first job offer, even though it wasn't as great and awesome of a one job as I originally wanted. I can embrace that one too, and it's how things worked out. But I appreciate all the comments and the concern and the warm feelings and the vibrations of love. It feels good. Thank you. Another person says, I agree with your final thoughts. I'm aware of enough Mandela effects at this point. I'm convinced, yes, the many seemingly small changes point to a larger truth. Reality is dynamic. So what do I do with that? Does it matter on a practical basis? Well, I do really sincerely appreciate all the supporting comments, and not working has allowed me to probably upload a few more videos than I normally would be able to, or at least, well, yeah, definitely have. Once I start this new thing, going to be a lot busier. It's going to be tougher, but I'll still try to keep doing this. And main thing, just trying to get that boy through college. Get him through that electrical engineering program. Unfortunately, today has been crazy unproductive for me. I've watched a storm come through really bad. I've stop to upload little segments of recordings. I don't even know that I'm going to actually put these together and upload a video on it. So, but here I have. I've just trashed this day. Cooked some food, did some cleaning, but did not dive into scraping the popcorn ceilings of my other house like I'm supposed to. And it just is such of a crappy job. I don't have any desire to do it. I know I must. I keep putting it off, procrastinating it, but I couldn't today. I just wanted to enjoy a really slow day, and I must get it together. Oh, yeah. I don't have. What's tomorrow? I think tomorrow will be a good day to do that. Anyway, I'll stop this now, and if I do another recording, we'll see. And if I put all this together, I'll find out. I can't tell you how many times I've put together videos and never uploaded them, but maybe I'll do this one. All right, so I guess I need to wrap this up and give you that little clip of Gordy. Is it Gordy, the D-Wave guy, and what he's saying? But as I've been reflecting, because there's been actually some delays here between these, I'm putting them all together so it sounds like one talk, but there's been some time that's passed. And I've been thinking about the whole idea that I was trying to really make this VP job come through by just thinking positively about it and all that. And I have to admit, it's very possible that it was a bad, it wouldn't have been a great job, or there's things that we can only see so far. We don't know the big picture. So the thing about acknowledging that you can't see the big picture because you're just this little dot, and how everything kind of pieces together is beyond you. The problem with that for a lot of people is now you're starting to suggest that maybe you should put your life in the hands of another, like God. And the complaint is you're giving up too much personal power, or you're giving up your own ability to manifest your path the way you want. You're giving that up. You're willingly handing it over. That's kind of what I'm getting from the Gnostic side too, and from David, is that putting your hands, or your life in the hands of a God, hoping that this being is looking out for you and wants the best overall. That's kind of the problem. And another thing is, who's to say what that best really looks like? From our perspective, the best thing for us might look like it totally sucks. But if you've witnessed enough suffering, you get a little jaded. That can't be the best for that person. God cannot be helping this person at all. I've seen enough scenarios that cause me to think that way sometimes. But I know it's a head scratcher, but I'm going to upload this last piece, is that Jordy guy essentially admitting to conjuring demons. I mean, that's through his little D-Wave company there. Now, the funny thing is, he's saying it in defense, no, I'm not conjuring demons, because that was something apparently Elon Musk was accusing him of. He's like, no, I'm not. He's saying I'm not conjuring demons. He is conjuring something, but his defense is, how do you know that they're not neutral, that they're not bad demons? They're just neutral. I mean, the way he says it, you're sitting there thinking, this is science. I mean, this is actual coming out, actually being said by this person. I mean, just, you can't share to regular people, yeah, this guy said this, because they'd never believe you. You have to actually have the recording and play it for somebody to even believe that somebody would be talking that way. There are a bunch of them that I wish I had captured. I remember them. I remember the Queen in 2015 chuckled and like really malicious sounding, chuckled and said, "Enjoy your last Christmas" to the world. And of course, I was thinking they know about the Mandela effect, and this is like some kind of a doomsday scenario. There was other articles about CERN, and they were talking about, you know, conjuring demons too, like right out of that thing. In the articles, I don't have any of that. I did listen to a guy though with CERN that was in an interview, and the concern of that, one of the points that was brought up is could you turning on this machine, this is back in 2008, could you firing this up create a black hole that sucks in the earth? And his he talked about it like, yeah, there's a 1 in 8 chance that could happen. I'm listening to him like 1 in 8. Are you kidding? This guy was okay with a 1 in 8 chance. Like there's 7/8 of a chance that we won't implode the world. But and I wish I had that recording that I could, I'm saying this, I'm just asking people to believe he actually said that, and it's just the most ridiculous thing in the world. That anybody, I mean, we should have been tackling this fool and putting handcuffs on him and saying, you're gonna play with existence like this. You're not gonna put the whole world at risk with that level of risk. Who knows? Maybe we all did get sucked into a black hole that they created, and when we came out the other end, all the Mandela effect spit out. I don't know, but and I know that the stuff comes out, and then there's a quick cleanup crew that just kind of mops up all the statements out there that they shouldn't have said. So you'll repeat it or share it, and then there'll be somebody quickly saying that never happened, or they were just joking. It's always something like that. They clean it, they put it out, and then they clean it up. And God knows I don't have time to stay on top of it like that anymore. But back when I was, back in like 2016, there sure were an awful lot of goofy things being said about this world. It was a bizarre world. Well, it's a bizarre world now too. It's just a little different flavor with the world events and the super control. But I'll end it with that. Let you listen to Gordy's Jordy or Gordy, whatever his name is, his little quote there, his little talk. And we'll talk to you again soon. Oh, and I forgot to add one last thing. Wish me luck. Say a prayer. I've got an interview tomorrow morning that still has a shot at disrupting my wife's prediction of where I'm going to go, and this one pays almost the same as the VP position. It's pretty good. It's an area position over like 5 different sites. I'll be driving more if I get that one, but I've got to go all the way to downtown Dallas tomorrow morning and go meet with those folks. So we'll see what that's about, and who knows? Maybe that'll break the prediction cycle there. We'll see.
Previous company was D-Wave. I'll just show you a couple things. We built what are still the world's only quantum computers that you can buy. D-Wave builds quantum computers. The way that they work, if you know how this works, is one of the interpretations is that you tap into these parallel universes, and the guy who talks about this is Elon, who says things like this, like, when you do this, beware. Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say, and not one thing more. But it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the U.S. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out.
They were telling me of how frightened they were at night, especially of one particular spirit. Now, this was supposedly the spirit of a witch or whatever it was. But myself, I did not feel the impression that it was a human spirit at all. Anyway, at the time, this window over here was stuck open because of the August humidity. The father, Roger Perrin, had even taken a hammer, tried to knock it down. Carla tried to push it down, it just would not come down.
Roger told us he couldn't get that to shut, because I had noticed it. And I tried to close it, just couldn't move it. Now this was August of 1973. It was sweltering in the rest of the house. It wasn't real air conditioned, it had some fans going. But in that room it was cold. Like you'd walked into a freezer. It was just cold.
And I happened to be sitting on a bed over here while the girls were telling me how frightened they were. And I asked them, do you have any particular religious beliefs? They said, oh yes, we're a Catholic. And I said, well, when you're afraid, try calling upon the name of Jesus. As soon as I said the name of Jesus, that window came slamming down with tremendous force, that very split second, causing them all to jump. And then the atmosphere just changed. It was a draining feeling, sensation, almost like we were in some kind of pressure, almost like a pressure cooker.
My brother.
And one of the daughters, Nancy, sitting on a bed over here, was slapped on the left side of her head. She screamed and went careening practically off the bed, and obviously in pain, and she started crying. And I said, don't be afraid. It's more afraid of the name of Jesus than it is of anything else. So I said the name of Jesus 3 times altogether, and suddenly it left. You could just feel it leave the room. And they said, it's gone. That was my most dramatic experience in this house the first time we came to investigate here in August of 1973.